This is Royce Kennebrew, candidate for Michigan's 12th congressional district, running as an independent candidate who will caucus with the Democrats when elected to Congress. Welcome to our second episode of Dark Horse Politics Podcast, where we talk about everything politics and culture. We will be talking about the presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joseph Biden and the fallout afterwards. Also, we will show a interview that I did with an African-American male Republican and his thoughts about Donald Trump and Project 2025. We will also be talking about something that many of you know about called SEL, or social and emotional learning, and why several Republican states have outlawed its teaching in classroom. And lastly, we will be talking about Afro-Palestinians and their plight in the Gaza Strip. Stay tuned so we can learn something together. On June 27th in Atlanta, Georgia, Joseph R. Biden and Donald Trump met in their first and the earliest presidential debate in American history, where the results were not strong for the incumbent president. But really, what we want to talk about today is the fallout from that debate. It has been so frustrating and so disheartening for me to see Democrats just bail out on the president after one presidential debate, as if he doesn't have the strongest record. He hasn't passed the most bipartisan legislation since LBJ. Like, he hasn't gotten the economy back on track, and Democrats just bugged out. And so what I want to tell people right now is to calm down and to understand this is just the first part of this election. You see Republicans, they are lining up behind Donald Trump, and they have ever since he was president and beforehand, to lick the boot, kiss the ring, whatever you want to be, a lapdog, whatever terminology you want to use. You see Lindsey Graham just being disparaged and disrespected. He was even booed at a Trump rally in South Carolina, and he put his support right behind Trump. Donald Trump calls Marco Rubio Little Marco, because he's like a shorter guy, 5'5", 5'6", 5'7", I understand. And he calls him Little Marco. And you see Marco Rubio just supporting Donald Trump. You see the same thing with all these other different Republicans. How about Ted Cruz? He called Ted Cruz's wife ugly and said that Ted Cruz's father had something to do with the assassination of JFK in Dallas. And these Republicans have lined up to give their support to this man, and they don't even like him. And so what about the African Americans like Tim Scott, who had the nerve and the unmitigating gall to say that there is no institutional racism in the United States of America? Also, how about Byron Donalds, Mr. Jim Crow and the African American family himself? And you could take a look at what we talked about in episode 1 of Dark Horse Politics Podcast in regards to Representative Byron Donalds from Florida and his comments about African Americans and the family and Jim Crow. But they have all put their support behind this serial liar, behind this man who has been convicted of 34 felony counts behind this man who has lost a civil suit where the judge said he sexually assaulted Aging Carroll, to the man who put out a full page ad in the New York newspaper saying and calling for the death penalty of 5 black and brown youths, a Central Park jogger case, who him and his father were sued by the Department of Justice for housing discrimination and had to settle that case. These people are all behind this guy, lockstep. And you have one bad debate, Joe Biden, and Democrats are ready to get rid of the president. That would be a huge mistake. I have said it to friends. I have said it to family. People are talking about getting rid of. This is not about that. We are not looking. Let's talk about what it is that we want. We're not looking for somebody to be a member of our flag football team. We're not looking for someone to do one of those little log rolling contests in the middle of a lake. We're not looking for somebody to put on our dodgeball team. Or we're not looking for somebody to do some other physical demanding activity. We are looking for a commander-in-chief who has demonstrated that they are able to do the job well. And that's what Joe Biden has already done. And let me tell you what has happened. And I'm going to tell you what the mistakes that independents and Democrats made. We allow all of those Republican presidential candidates to go out and for month after month and after month to lie about Joe Biden and to talk about his mental capacity. Now, we know that Joe Biden doesn't have any mental issues. That's a fact, right? And his problem is that he has a stutter. And if you know anything about stutterers, it comes out when you're tired. Now, we are surprised that an 81-year-old guy acted like an 81-year-old guy at the end of a day. And I saw his itinerary, and he's going back and forth through 3, 4, and 5 time zones over the 2 weeks before the debate. And so to a large degree, I blame the staff for not having him sit in a certain place in that central time zone in Atlanta for a day or so, or maybe even 2 days to do debate prep. So he would be used to the time zone, and he could also be fresh for the debate that night. But the main thing that I've been hearing that has been so frustrating for me, you heard it from Donnie Deutsch, you heard it from Van Jones, is to get another candidate. It's 2 months before the Democratic National Convention. So you're telling me you want to take away the incumbent that has done a great job for the other incumbent? That will not work. And then here's something else that's going to happen. If you do get rid of Joe Biden, think about how many different selections do we have. I love Gavin Newsom. I think he's a phenomenal governor. Very eloquent, very knowledgeable. Of course, love the Michigan governor, Big Gretch Whitmer, who has done a phenomenal job, especially during the pandemic, of showing everyone how to run a state, especially when the Democrats have the governor's house, the state senate, and the state house. Phenomenal candidate. What about Wes Moore? Phenomenal governor in Maryland. But don't forget about the vice president. And let me tell you, here's the problem. And you guys are going to maybe embrace this. One of the reasons why we're even talking about replacing Joe Biden is because we let people lie about Joe Biden's mental capacity for months and did not retort, did not have a response for. To some degree, it has fused itself into what people think about Joe Biden. Likewise, people have been disparaging Kamala Harris as well. So she should be first up in that position. And if you think you're going to put Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer ahead of Kamala Harris, and then that there be no pushback from Black voters in this country, and they may bail out on the 2024 election in November, you got another thing coming. That's a dangerous thing to do, to take out the president at this time, because it would logically put up Kamala Harris, who has been disparaged as well. Let me give you a quick book real quick before I show you this video that's playing in the background, to show you why it's a bad idea to try to replace the incumbent president at this point. There's a book called Blind Spot: Hidden Biases of Good People. And implicit bias and unconscious bias are ways that you feel about people, about groups of people, about different genders, about the LGBTQ community. And listen at this research. It's done by the Implicit Project at Harvard University. You can go to implicit.harvard.edu and take an implicit association test to find out if you have any unknown to yourself biases against women, against African American, against the LGBTQ community, against Latinos. And in that research that comes from hundreds of thousands and even millions of implicit association tests, there are three groups who the majority of Americans have the most unconscious bias towards. Now, you're going to think race is first. Race isn't first. It is ageism is first, sexism or gender bias is second, then racism. And so when you talk about the bias toward President Biden, it is intersected, and the term is sometimes used, intersectionality, between ageism and his mental capacity. And then when you talk about Kamala Harris, it is gender bias and also race bias that is intersected. And so we may have made a huge mistake when we did not elect Hillary Clinton, because one of the things that you may have, if you decide to go with, and I think she would be a phenomenal candidate and do a great job, Kamala Harris would, is you're dealing with the implicit and unconscious bias in regards to women, in regards to African Americans, and also the social and pop culture and social media and media environment where she has been disparaged in regards to her abilities, as well as at the same time Joe Biden been disparaged because of his age. But what I want to do right now is to show you this video from Abby Phillips and this gentleman, Mr. Alan Lichtman, in regards to trying to change a candidate.
And they claim they know how this debate is going to affect the outcome of elections. They have no idea. It's sports talk radio. It may be entertaining, but it has no scientific basis.
So what is the impact, you think?
Zero. Debates are not predictive of outcomes. Hillary Clinton won all three debates, still lost. John Kerry won all the debates, still lost. Barack Obama got trounced, 72 to 20% in the poll, worse than Biden, and went on to win. That's why we rely on the 13 keys which tap into the structure of how elections really work. And they show that Democrats' really only chance to win, contrary to everything you've heard, is with Biden running. Look at the incumbency key. Biden checks that off. The contest key, he checks that off. He was uncontested. It takes 6 keys to count out the White House party.
So you can see from his comments, there is a rubric. There is 13 different points that we will give up some if you try to get another candidate. We can't give up another candidate at this point. You can't give incumbency then to Donald Trump, because he would be then, if you get rid of Joe Biden, the person who has the most presidential experience. Remember that the election came down to 5 states, 700,000 votes. The election not going to be won from the left or from the right. It's going to be won down the middle. So you keep the advantages in place, and you do something called fight for it. You can get a split screen of Joe Biden having an issue at the election and then at the debate, and then you have a split on the other side of the split screen, some of the crazy things that Donald Trump has been saying, especially when he's off teleprompter. And you can ask the simple question. One of these guys has done a phenomenal job, and one of these guys wants to destroy democracy. K-12 educators, are you looking for a way to increase the performance academically of your students and to improve their behavior so that they're able to be successful inside and outside the classroom? Well, if you are, I have an online course that is starting in the month of July. Stay tuned for details. Hello, this is Royce Kennebrew, independent candidate for Michigan's 12th Congressional District, who, when elected, will caucus with the Democrats. The most difficult part about the campaigning process is raising funds. So if you want different leadership in Michigan's 12th Congressional District, someone who is going to work for all constituents and not their own personal interests, please go to voteroyce.com. Give $5, $10, $15. Every and anything will help. Thank you. But we have to fight back in this issue in regards to Joe Biden. But what I want to do now is to show you the interview that I had with the African-American male Republican and his views on Donald Trump, the election, and one of our segments, Project 2025. Take a look.
Hello, everyone. My name is MacArthur Clark Jr. I'm from Mobile, Alabama.
How are you? I didn't know you were from Alabama.
Yeah, Mobile. Transplanted. Went to school at Dillard in New Orleans and
I did not know
got
that.
transferred by Chrysler when
Right.
I hired in New Orleans to
Right.
Detroit for the first time back in the late 90s.
Probably the first thing I want to talk about is the debate. I didn't watch it either.
Okay.
I didn't watch it either. So what have you heard about the debate?
Oh my gosh, I've heard a lot of different things. I think I really need to kind of watch it back to have an idea,
Right.
make my own opinion about
Okay,
it.
what are some of the things that you've
Oh,
heard?
I'm hearing that President Biden was a bit sluggish. A lot of times he faded with his words. He had these odd expressions because he wasn't aware he was on camera,
Oh, wow.
even when Trump was talking.
Wow.
But then, the same thing, Trump's still talking about, all the stuff that he didn't do, which we have proof that he did do. And, it's,
Right.
it's just,
Right.
it's amazing to me how somebody could be so aggressively pursuing and stating lies that we
Yeah.
already have the facts.
That we already had the
Yeah,
facts
that we
for.
know.
Now,
It's bananas.
one of the things that I tell people is that is an indication to show you that, like, people don't lie to people that they think can figure out the lie.
Yes.
And so the reason why people lie is because they think they could get away with it.
Yes.
And so he, to a degree, believes that the people that support him are going to believe him
They're going to believe him anyway.
because they're not going to check the lie.
No, they're not. But I like what Dr. Myron Golden says. He said the truth doesn't need the lie to be quiet. It's the lie that needs the truth to be quiet.
I love that.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love that. And that's really one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast.
Yes.
Because I believe that if we can tell the truth better than they lie, or as much as they lie,
Yes.
I think that the truth will win out. I really do
believe that
believe
it will,
that
too.
in my heart.
I
really
absolutely
believe that in my heart.
that will work. And a lot of people, I have people who express a lot of apathy.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my gosh, I don't like either of the choices I
Yeah.
have. It doesn't even matter if I vote. And I
Yeah.
tell them, I say, listen, what Martin Luther King Jr. said is, the only thing it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to stand by and do nothing.
Absolutely.
So
I like
we
that quote,
still have to do what it is. It's our civic duty
Absolutely.
to vote and to make our voices heard.
Absolutely. I believe that as well. I believe that as well. So do you, based on what you've heard of that debate, are you swayed more one way or the other? What have you heard that doesn't matter to you based on what that debate did?
I honestly, it doesn't matter to me because here's the reality. My father is 81 years old. He's about to be 82 in July. He doesn't speak that swiftly. He takes his time. When he chooses to say something, a lot of times he doesn't say anything. And the wisdom
Right.
that you have to gain
Right.
to get to that age in that environment,
Right.
that speaks louder than anything he could say.
Right.
And on top of that, it's not one person.
Right.
They have a cabinet.
That's what
they
I
have a group of people. And since you mentioned this, I want to tell you, I did do a little bit of research on Trump's platform.
Right.
And the thing that concerns me the most is this Schedule F. I don't.
Absolutely.
Everybody's like, oh, that's not a big deal. When you talk about 80% of the people who make our government work aren't political. It's just that little 20% that change spots when you get a new president. And he wants to flip that.
All right. So to explain to the people, there is a Project 2025 that was created by the Heritage Foundation and other right-wing organizations and individuals. And part of that platform, they have 4 pillars in Project 2025. One of them is for employment. They want the federal government, they call it the 4th branch of government. And they say that, you know, whether you talk about the Department of Interior, Department of Transportation, Department of Commerce, Department of Education, that's the 4th branch of government. And the way that federal workers are listed is not Schedule F. Now, what Schedule F is saying that you are an at-will employee and that you can be fired, right? I have experience with this because I've been a federal contractor for the past 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And so I have not only been doing that for the past 20 years, so I know these people because I've been going to, my second home is Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
I've gone to Washington, D.C. maybe 30 times, at least, right?
Goodness gracious.
I've worked with an organization called Blacks in Government. And those are the African-American workers from that 4th branch of government.
Oh, okay.
And so I have relationships with people that are so tight, is that I've stayed at people's houses in the DMV area, right?
Wow.
Met their family and all of these things because I've been a trainer for Blacks in Government, which is an organization of African-American workers of the federal government. And so when I think about Federal F for certain people, first, the idea of being able to fire people at will, I know that they have, that's because they're unionized.
Yes.
They're unionized. And so when he implemented Schedule F before, and then it got changed back when Joe Biden came into office.
Right.
And so to hear the idea of they're talking about firing through Schedule F at least 50,000 federal employees.
Yes.
And these are my friends.
Yes.
Right? These are people that I know. And so that alarms me, first of all. And then the other part of Project 2025 is that they have pretty much a MAGA LinkedIn.
Yes.
Where people are sending in their resume,
vetting
people right now, so that if it happens, and if they're able to fire those people, that they have people to go right in.
Yes.
Now, let me tell you this. K-12 educators, are you looking for a way to increase the performance academically of your students and to improve their behavior so that they're able to be successful inside and outside the classroom? Well, if you are, I have an online course that is starting in the month of July. Stay tuned for details. I had a speaking engagement, and this is the first time this ever happened to me. And I've been doing this 20 years. I had a speaking engagement that was virtual for an agency in Washington, D.C., and it was for Black History Month. And many times they will ask me, what are you talking about? Send us an outline, send us your slides. No problem. She was like, send me your outline, send me your slides, and then we're going to have a Zoom call. I said, okay. She said, okay, now explain to me what you mean in every slide. I said, what? This has never happened to me in 20 years. She's like, I want to know what you're going to say. I know I have your outline. I know I have the slides, but what are you going to say on each slide? And the reason why that is because there were members of that agency who were already MAGA.
Oh, so they're
And she
they're
knew,
trying to curate what you're going to say.
Absolutely.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. And so that existed already. And when I had did the presentation, she liked it, but she already got pushback from those people. And this is before the implementation of 50,000 loyalists to the MAGA movement.
I can't even imagine.
I don't care what condition he's in. I know me and you are old enough to remember the movie Weekend at Bernie's. You remember that movie? The Weekend at Bernie's. There was a dead guy at the Weekend at Bernie's.
With the shades on him
with
and
the
roll.
shades on, and they had him in a wheelchair. They carried him around, and the president is eons better than that.
Yes.
And the thing about it is that he is good at what he does.
Yes.
When you talk about the infrastructure bill, whether you talk about chip science and technology bill, you're talking about Safer Communities Act.
Talk about the student loan forgiveness.
Yeah, student loan forgiveness. They've forgiven over $150 billion, of which people I know who have gotten $50,000, $75,000,
Yes.
over $100,000 of student loan debt forgiven. And so he's been able to do the job well.
Yes.
And the problem, and what I like to say, is that Republican leaders are lying better than Democrats are telling the truth.
Well said.
They're saying it more.
And they're saying it more, and they're saying it louder,
and they're saying it
more
loud.
often.
For instance, the economy. Now, everybody know that Donald Trump received and got the Obama economy.
Yes, he did.
And that when it was time, his only crisis that he has was the coronavirus, and he botched it.
And he blew
He
it.
was telling people to drink bleach.
Yep.
He was telling people to put
Hydrochloroquine.
Right. He was telling people to put light inside of their body. He was telling people to what you just said is a fish tank cleaning something.
It's toxic.
Of which somebody down, I think it was in Arizona, tried to take it and died, right? And so his response led to, in my opinion, probably the deaths of a lot of people.
Yes, no doubt, no question.
And people are acting like they don't remember that.
No, I don't know how they forgot it. I mean, in the first 2 months of COVID, I lost 12 people I knew.
Absolutely.
And it was like, what? And he said this is going to disappear?
Yeah, he said it was just 1 or 2 people from China. Right. Nope. And so that lack of understanding is what people don't understand, is what they get if they don't vote for Joe Biden.
True.
Hello, this is Royce Kennebrew, independent candidate for Michigan's 12th Congressional District, who, when elected, will caucus with the Democrats. The most difficult part about the campaigning process is raising funds. So if you want different leadership in Michigan's 12th Congressional District, someone who is going to work for all constituents and not their own personal interests, please go to voteroyce.com. Give $5, $10, $15. Every and anything will help. Thank you.
And I read Barack Obama's Audacity of Hope. And one of the things I liked about his approach, even though 100% I didn't vote for him. I primarily voted as a conservative Republican.
I got you.
That's how I always voted.
Sure.
So I didn't vote for him, but what I respected was the fact that he could take all of these diverse opinions, synthesize them, pick a direction, and get people to follow him. He doesn't care if people follow him at all. He's just gonna run them off the cliff.
That's true.
And it's scary. It's his focus. It's his drive. It's about him.
Right.
And that's more concerning to me.
Right.
Because if you care about you over everybody else, we're in trouble.
Right. And well, a good question to ask as an African American male conservative, how is this MAGA movement different from the Reagan conservative?
Okay.
In your opinion?
This is my opinion. This is actually my situation. Like I said, I did not vote for Obama, but I made more money in my consulting business under Obama, and I ended up unemployed, receiving $362 under Trump.
Right.
So you go from 6 figures to 3 figures?
I can't figure.
I can't figure, right.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. I didn't lose any skill. I gained skills.
Yeah.
But it just was, the economy collapsed.
Yeah.
Now, I have financial licenses. So
Sure.
I'm a registered representative here in the state of Michigan.
Oh wow.
So
When you say registered representative of what?
yeah, for financial services.
Okay, good.
I have my SIE, I have my Series 6, my 63,
Oh, wow.
and I actually have my authority through Primerica right now. But the idea is for me to understand what's happening in the financial markets, because I'm credentialed in that.
Right.
We're having record high.
Absolutely.
These numbers they were talking about during Obama's time, and it's like they were getting close, and then all of a sudden it's like watching a game where you lose the last life, and it doop 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 doop,
Yeah,
and then somebody put a new coin in, and it's just
Right.
taken back off.
So economy wise and markets wise, how are markets different in the Trump administration to Biden? Which one is better, Biden
I
or
would
Trump?
definitely say, well, I'm going to tell you, financial markets are better and stronger than they've ever been, partially because businesses are focused on not what he's saying on a tweet, but doing business and actually serving people and producing things. That's what businesses are supposed to do.
Sure.
That's how you make a strong economy.
Sure.
When you have someone that's that volatile and they come out, we're going to put tariffs on China. Well, 90% of the stuff gets here from China. How in the world?
That's where we get our stuff from.
How in the world are you going to tax the people that's...
So let me ask you this $50,000 question. So he has talked about putting, was it a 60%?
Yeah,
on tariff,
40 or 60%,
40
something
to
like that.
some large amount of tariffs on everything from China. How would that impact us as a financial guy?
Well, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to see the supply chain seize, like what we saw
During
right before the
pandemic.
inflation. Right before the inflation blew up, the pandemic caused the initial disruption. But when you have credit markets tightening and you have people not producing things for sales,
Yeah.
it just caused this big traffic jam with production.
Sure.
And if you don't have things produced, you don't have anything to sell. And eventually we found ourselves in a spot like I told you I was in the automotive business with Chrysler before, where the plant has shut down to retool in July,
Right.
and you know they're gonna have job one August 1st, but the dealers are out of cars. You can't make a car appear from anywhere. And everybody's like, my gosh, why you can't find a car nowhere? It's because they did not plan. They didn't get the cars that were at the end of the model year like they were supposed to.
Oh, wow.
And have them available. They're
got
like,
you.
oh, we're gonna be fine. And guess what?
Okay.
There was a rush. People bought cars, and now dealers are trying to find cars different places.
right.
And what happens is you feel like there's no inventory.
Right.
And when people don't see inventory, think about toilet paper and paper towels during COVID.
Oh, make
They
a run
freak.
on it. Yeah, they freak out.
They freak out, and freaking out is not good for your economy because everybody goes, I can't spend it. I got to hold on to it.
Yeah.
When our GDP is 70% personal consumption, that's how the math works out.
Right.
70% of our gross domestic product comes from people doing transactions. But when you're afraid to do a transaction, the money, the currency is the oil for the economy. So when you take the oil out of a motor, it don't move.
Right.
And that's why we stalled.
Right.
And then the stimulus was supposed to help.
Right.
But it didn't come fast enough.
Right.
So people got in fear mode.
Yeah.
And we saw with the Great Depression, that depression should have been ended in maybe 5 years. It took 25 years. Why? Because the response was so slow.
So let me ask you just a basic question. Whose economy was better, Trump's economy or Biden's economy?
Biden's economy, it's a landslide. It's not even close.
It's not even close.
It's not even close.
So let me ask you this question then. Why do you think that Trump then gets higher approval ratings than Biden for the economy?
Because that's what he keeps saying. It really
Because it's not the truth. And
No,
it just
because
keeps
it's
saying
not the truth.
A
He keeps
lie
saying it.
over and over and
I
over.
tell people, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of political conversations, but when I'm talking about finance, I say, look, you can be sincere and be sincerely wrong. You don't want to base your financial situation on sincerity.
Right.
It needs to be based in reality.
Reality and
So
facts.
my buddy David, my boy David Simmons in California, great marketing guy, used to work for Mattel,
Okay.
working on his own business now.
Sure.
He tells me this quote. He said, saw wood and let the sawdust tell the story. Biden is spending his time using his influence, getting things done.
Yeah.
He's not talking about it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, because you got somebody that's doing nothing.
Nothing. But
Less
saying they
than
are.
nothing.
Yeah.
But just talking.
Right.
And unfortunately, our culture in America has gone from looking at people's results as a justification to pay attention to what they're saying,
Right.
to now we're entertained.
So let's take a look at some of the things that this African-American male Republican talked about in regards to the economy. He was clear, and he's a financial guy, as you can see, as he talked about his credentials, is that by far the Biden economy is stronger than the Trump economy. And so then how do we believe otherwise? It's because Republican leaders have been saying continuously this same lie, that Joe Biden wrecked the economy and that inflation is his fault. And as you can see by this discussion, we know that the Biden economy is stronger than Trump's economy. He got back all of the jobs that were lost by Donald Trump and his poor response to COVID, and got over 4 to 5 million more jobs. The unemployment rate for African Americans is at its lowest rate in history, was done by Joe Biden. And in the debate, which is so frustrating for me again, is that people are talking about Joe Biden's performance, but they aren't talking about the lies that Donald Trump told every 90 seconds. And so we have raised the bar for Joe Biden and lowered the bar for Donald Trump, as if, well, he's a big liar, he lies all the time, and so we could just accept that. No, especially what he wants to do in the world. Now, let's think about also some of the things that they talked about in regards to the debate and the performance of Donald Trump, when we saw that this guy who I interviewed talked about. And so we get an understanding that, especially that Biden is the better candidate. What I did not ask, and I should have asked, who he's going to vote for. I got the idea that he was going to vote for Biden, but I thought about it after the discussion that we had. But then we talk about Project 2025 and Schedule F. Schedule F means that these people that fall under Schedule F are at-will employees. During the first Trump administration, they changed and made a lot of employees Schedule F, and Biden went back and rechanged that, because that means that they have no protection, no unions, no protections from unlawful firing. And so they want to get rid of up to 50,000 employees of the federal government. They call it the fourth branch of government, and to put in Trump loyalists. Now, here's something that has happened since this debate has occurred. There is a Supreme Court case called Chevron Deference. And in that Supreme Court ruling, they said that now the courts will be used when an agency, whether it's the EPA, whether it's NASA, whether it's Department of Education, and there is an issue, that the issue should not be adjudicated by that agency like it has been done, but by the courts, which we know when it goes up to the Supreme Court that it is a right-wing leaning court. And so those are the issues that we have with Project 2025. And let me tell you something that happened to get the word out is that actress Taraji P. Henson on the BET Awards, or at the BET Awards, told people to look up Project 2025, and they did. As in further research, because since it's this Project 2025 document is 920 plus pages, I need weeks and weeks to go through it and to do the research. We talked about getting rid of the Department of Education, but they want to privatize education to the extent where you could take private dollars or public dollars and take them to private schools, right? So a lot of what this Project 2025 is, first of all, it's taking away our rights. And second of all, it's a big grift so that people can make more money off the federal government and the different agencies that control the federal government. And so I'm glad that we had a chance in this discussion to talk about Project 2025. As an educator who has taught 4th grade, 5th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, been a dean of students, assistant principal, athletic director, I want you to think about something that is part of Project 2025 on one of the reasons why they want to defund and get rid of the Department of Education. And it's something called social and emotional learning, or SEL. And it has been banned to be used in several states around, Republican states around the country, as if it is something that is bad. And I want you to take a look at this video so that we have a context to have a discussion.
There's a lot of talk these days about SEL, social emotional learning. But what exactly is it? Social emotional learning is the process of learning social and emotional skills, and it's just as important as learning reading or math. This learning process is most effective when it begins early and continues through high school. Social emotional skills are essential for success in school, work, and life. With SEL, students learn to manage their own emotions and behaviors, have empathy and show care and concern for others, solve problems effectively, make responsible decisions, and maintain healthy relationships. Students learn to recognize what's happening inside them and to be aware of their emotions, which helps them deal with strong emotions and impulsive behaviors. It helps them stop, take a breath, and think about a situation before acting. Students learn to identify others' emotions and perspectives, which helps them empathize and show compassion, no matter who they are or what their background is. It's not difficult to imagine how this is important in the classroom and in life. Students learn to solve problems in peaceful ways and communicate assertively about what they need or want. This helps them get along with other students and get the help they need from adults. When students learn to make responsible decisions about their lives and their future, things can turn out better. Research shows social emotional learning makes a difference. Students who participate in SEL do better academically, have improved attitudes and behaviors, and act in delinquent or disruptive ways less often. In the United States, students with strong social-emotional competence are twice as likely to earn a college degree and nearly 50% more likely to graduate from high school and have a full-time job by age 25. Just as important, students who are socially and emotionally competent have more friends. This means they're more likely to feel connected to school and do well, and less likely to be left out or bullied. Simply put, by participating in social-emotional learning, students learn the skills to succeed in every facet of school and the rest of their lives.
K-12 educators, are you looking for a way to increase the performance academically of your students and to improve their behavior so that they're able to be successful inside and outside the classroom? Well, if you are, I have an online course that is starting in the month of July. Stay tuned for details.
So you don't see anything bad about that, do you? It sounds like something good, especially that it can have a positive impact on our children who are suffering from social and emotional issues because of the lockdown during the pandemic. And so it doesn't sound like anything's wrong with that. But when you listen to Republicans, then you hear and see things like this.
So when we go to school and we say, you're teaching CRT, that's ridiculous. No, we're not. You're teaching CSE, the new sex program. No. Because these all follow and fall under SEL. Okay? The bottom that we've been hearing about for the last year or so, CRT, comprehensive sexual education. Remember, as per ACE, or childhood adverse experiences, every kid can be grouped and categorized for something, racism, oppression, gender, whatever they need. So these are all just trying to help the kids, because we have the CDC who found the problems through ACE. They have the whole school, whole community, whole child. So they're bringing it all home. See, the master brainwashing technique is that. What's at the top of the triangle? Let me go back to what I showed you happening right now in Austin, Texas, the independent school district. What is it? Oh, well, look at that. In Austin ISD, we believe that social emotional learning is at the heart of equity-centered systems and structures. Oh, well, that's great. See, SEL ties it all together. And that's the driver of the whole school, whole community, whole child thing. And they admit it in their own curriculum publications. CRT and CSE are just parts of the pie. So when we're fighting one, they're getting away with everything else. The social emotional learning is how they're getting it all done. We've been fighting an incomplete partial battle, focusing just on CRT or sex ed. This is how they get away with saying, we're not teaching all, but it's a con, it's a big lie. SEL is the driver for all of this. This is from the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, an outside group of activists that started in New Haven, Connecticut. It reveals a curriculum plan to teach what Florida just banned.
So the question is, why are they so afraid of social and emotional learning? And it's just my opinion that anything that brings people together, anything that helps people, anything that is positive for the vast majority of people that is being done freely, there's a place called CASEL, the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, .org or .com, and they are giving away free resources to help kids be more successful. And it's something that I teach as well. Take a look at me here in this video. The problem that many of you guys have experienced, that the world has experienced, is the impact of what social or what the coronavirus has done, and it has cut off the social interaction or the ability for us to be together. And that really hurt people. And for some of you, you gotta remember the Lanford way, remember those skills that you developed when you were a freshman and you were a sophomore and you became a big bad junior and senior. You gotta remember that stuff. So you have to remember the way. So when I do this, that's good. I'll take that. That's
pretty good. Some of you guys are like, what's he doing? You got to remember the way, and it'll help you be more successful. Because guys, you're going into one of the most important times of your life. So, but here's what it did. The pandemic, the coronavirus, these are called adverse childhood experiences. These are ACEs. When these things happen, it impacts your ability to learn. It takes you from what's called the learning brain that you're in when you're peaceful, you're at rest, you're cool, everything's good. When you're stressed out, you go into the survival brain and you can't really learn. You're just thinking about, how can I get out of this situation? So if you had housing insecurity, if you had to move, food insecurity, difficult eating, financial insecurity, if you've had been separated from loved ones, hospitalized, seen it or experienced it, deaths in the family, things of that nature, they have pushed you with this trauma into the survival brain. But the land fair way and social and emotional learning can pull you back to the learning brain, so where it is that you need to be so that you can be more as successful as possible. All right, that's all right, we're good. All right, come on, quicker. All right, next slide for me, please. All right, so this is what social and emotional learning is. There are 5 core competencies in social and emotional learning: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills. Now, self-awareness is being able to understand and process your feelings. Self-management is being in control of yourself. Social awareness is respecting other people. All right? Some people have a problem with that sometimes. I'm telling you guys that this world wants people that are able to work with other people. It is a project-based world. Very rarely are you going to be able to sit in a room by yourself and not interact with people and be successful in this world. Relationship skills, and how is it that you create good, meaningful, healthy relationships? Let me check the house here. Who's got a boo? Anybody got a boo? Anybody got a babe? Anybody got any of those things? Well, this is relationship. Y'all act like y'all know what I'm talking about. What do you call them now? I mean, what is it? What do you say? My girl? Yo, what? Oh, the mom. Okay. All right, listen up. Here we go. And the last one is being able to make good relationship skills. So there's a lot of benefits to social and emotional learning. One of them is it helps you inside and outside the classroom. The other thing is that you are able to do peaceful problem solving. That means you ain't got to punch somebody to solve a problem. Guess what, guys? That doesn't work in the regular world. People don't punch each other out when they, at the service desk, or when they are conducting business. Rich people don't commonly punch each other out when they're doing business deals. That's not how it works. The most successful people are able to resolve conflict peaceably. Other things that happen, you have better academics. So when I'm through with this, Google social and emotional learning to learn more about it. You have better behavior, and you are that is a misspelled word up there. You're twice as likely to graduate from college and also to get a job.
So then you have to ask yourself, what is the fear of social and emotional learning? It seems like all of these things that can bring people together, that can, because think about what social emotional learning does. It teaches you how to be aware of your emotions, how to manage your emotions, how to be sympathetic and empathetic to others. Doesn't it seem like we need that in our country? To be sympathetic and empathetic to others, those who are not like us, who might be of a different party, different gender, different sexual orientation, different gender identification, who live in a different part of the country, different nationality, different religion. All of those things will help people work better with each other. How about relationship skills? Teaching people how to work well with other people, how to communicate with other people. and to responsible decision making. All of those things, like, it would be helpful in our country right now. It seems like to me that the MAGA movement and the far right movement is the party of chaos. They just want chaos. They want to have grievance. They don't want to have people to come together. They don't want to have people to agree, to have bipartisan legislation, for people to be able to work well with each other, talk well with each other, because it seems like they have made the calculus that they do better when we do worse. And one of my arguments is that Republican leaders lie better than Democrats tell the truth. And I talked about that in our section. So the next thing that I want to talk about is very important, because we have a segment where we talk about the war in Gaza. And this is something that is so important for all of us. So let me just make clear again what my position is in the Gaza war. I called for a regional ceasefire months ago. And a regional ceasefire is not just one party ceasing fire, but several parties, and all parties ceasing fire. That Houthi rebels who are shooting at cargo ships in the Red Sea, who have killed, unfortunately, American service people and caused serious injury to others. Hezbollah in the north shooting as Israel. I'm calling for a ceasefire there. I'm calling for a ceasefire from Hamas, who was the reason for this flare, or this starting of this war and this conflict in this region, to ceasefire, and for Israel to ceasefire. And I call for a regional ceasefire so that the Israeli hostages that are still being held can be released, and humanitarian aid can still go into the Gaza Strip where it is desperately needed. I believe that everyone on this planet should have clean drinking water, food to eat, shelter over their head, food, clothes on their back. And I definitely believe that for the people of Gaza.
Hello, this is Royce Kennebrew, independent candidate for Michigan's 12th Congressional District, who, when elected, will caucus with the Democrats. The most difficult part about the campaigning process is raising funds. So if you want different leadership in Michigan's 12th Congressional District, someone who is going to work for all constituents and not their own personal interests, please go to voteroyce.com. Give $5, $10, $15. Every and anything will help. Thank you. K-12 educators, are you looking for a way to increase the performance academically of your students and to improve their behavior so that they're able to be successful inside and outside the classroom? Well, if you are, I have an online course that is starting in the month of July. Stay tuned for details.
I just recently found out about how Afro-Palestinians are being treated in the Gaza Strip. I didn't even know that there were Afro-Palestinians. I didn't know that there were Black Palestinians in the Gaza Strip who looked like me. I didn't even know that. But I want you to look at this mashup of video in regards to the treatment of those Afro-Palestinians.
Palestinians are racist to Black people. And if you look around, it's Black people that are out there advocating for the rights of Palestinians. This should be a lesson for Palestinians and the Arab community in general to stop being racist towards Black people. Because when shit hits the fan, it's Black people that come out and they fight for the oppressed. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah says He will not change a people until they change themselves. So if you're there making dua, saying, oh Allah, why are the Israeli soldiers racist to the Arabs and they're doing all of these things to the Palestinian people, and you can't understand why this is happening, then look within yourself. You as an Arab, you as a Palestinian, You in your own family, how many of you are racist to people that are Black Palestinians? Even broader Muslim communities, from Pakistani communities to Bangladeshi communities, Moroccan, Libyan communities, the Gulf communities. How many people say we are Muslim and in the same breath, they mistreat other Muslims because of their skin color or their country of origin?
Palestinians are Arabs. Saying, have you ever heard about the Arab slave trade? Go and look it up. Go and read up on the Arab slave trade and see how brutal they were to black people.
In Gaza, on the Gaza Strip, where 11,000 Afro-Palestinians live. It is called Al Abib. You know what that means? Slave. Yes, that is where black people live, and that is what the Arabics call that neighborhood, slaves, the land of the slaves.
So let me be clear. I am not playing this video to say that Palestinian aid should not go into the Gaza Strip. I believe that aid should go into the Gaza Strip for the people that are having food insecurity, housing issue, no clean drinking water. I think it should go in. But for those who are talking about, in particular those African American people who are saying that they're not going to vote for Joe Biden or that they're not going to vote at all, I want you to understand what has occurred and what has been occurring in the Gaza Strip in regards to people that look like African Americans, is that they have been receiving racial and racism for years. And so I'm pointing that out to say this, that if you are going to support Palestinians in this region, that means that you are supporting people who are inflicting racism on people that look like you, if you're African American or a person of African descent. And so what I'm asking you to do is reconsider not voting in this election in November the 5th and allow them, as we get aid into them, to figure out. And I want you to call for liberation for those Afro-Palestinians that are in Palestine, as well as you are advocating for the liberation of the Gaza Strip. So I want you to be liberating and asking for liberation for all human beings, because I believe in life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness for everybody on this planet, not just one group of people. Not just black people here or Palestinian people here or Jewish people there or gay people here or any other type of, or Latin people here, Hispanic people there. I think that there is a fundamental basic human rights that everyone should have everywhere. And so, you know, I saw a discussion from an African American or Afro-Palestinian journalist who talked about how she was talked about, her skin color, her hair color, how she was discriminated against. Her picture is coming up now. And also about others who talked about the being called Abid, which means slave, by Palestinians. And as you heard from the woman in the video, the section in Gaza being called Al Abid, the land of the slaves or the place of the slave. Talking about people of African ancestry. That sounds sort of like Donald Trump and his black jobs. What in the world are black jobs, as a matter of fact? We don't know. But that's a comment that's going to come back to hurt him, I think, as well. But in regards to this particular topic, I want you to understand the whole context, that a lot of African people in the Arab slave trade were taken from sub-Saharan Africa and marched across the Sahara Desert and brought to the Middle East and North Africa for Arab slavery, the Arab slave trade. the people that look like us, and that we share DNA from certain Black Palestinians, Afro-Palestinians that are there right now, that African Americans and those Afro-Palestinians possibly share the same DNA. So I want you to think about that when you're calling for liberation. Will you call for liberation for Afro-Palestinians as you are calling for liberation for others? That's the question that I want you to think about. And so you need to reevaluate where your vote is going and why your vote is going there on November the 5th and on August the 6th, which is the primary here in Michigan. On the culture front, in sports, I was excited to see that Bronny James is going to be playing with his dad in Los Angeles. And I have heard all of the detractors who have talked about it. And I'm thinking to myself, why are people mad that this man has been able to manage and arrange for his son to play on the basketball team with him? People have been hooking up their children since the beginning of time, getting them jobs since literally the beginning of time. So why then should LeBron James not do the same thing for his child, even if his child couldn't play? If I could get my child on a professional athlete, I would do everything that I could to make sure that would happen. In business, I mean, how many times have we seen that? And so to see the negative comments about him doing that is really ridiculous. Let me know down in the comments in regards to how you feel about LeBron James getting or being influential in his child being drafted by the Lakers. Also, to improve the visibility of our podcast, please like, share, comment, hit that bell so you can be notified whenever we upload a video. But this is incredible for me. I'm happy for the James family, happy for Bronny, happy for LeBron. That's a wonderful thing, man, to be able to have your child play on the same team as you as a pro. And it's the first time in history. So it's the culmination of a historical and important thing to happen in NBA history. And as we sign out, it's another cultural thing that I want to talk about, that the votes, we talked about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark being allowed to play on the Olympic team. Well, they both going to be on the All-Star team at the WNBA All-Star game. And I think that's amazing when you look at how many votes that both her, Caitlin Clark, and Angel Reese have gotten. Now, what do you say? Put it down in the comments and tell me, what do you think about Caitlin Clark getting more votes than anybody in the WNBA? Tell me what you think about that and why you think that is. Because she definitely can play, but can't listen to me. Angel Reese is balling out with these double-doubles. I mean, there's nothing you can say about these two. They're just balling out. It's amazing. And the top 11 games televised viewership, out of the top 11 games, 10 of them have been games that Caitlin Clark has played in. So that says a lot to me. And so anyway, just tell me about what you think about Bronny playing for the Lakers, and also let me know about what you think about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese getting nominated to their first, or voted in to their first WNBA All-Star game, with Caitlin Clark getting the most votes out of every person there. On Dark Horse Politics Podcast, we talk about so many serious subjects. We like to end on something humorous. Take a look at this exchange that deals with the Cheesecake Factory. And what's so ironic about that is that the Cheesecake Factory was founded here by Evelyn Overton in Detroit, Michigan. Take a look.
When a young African American walks in a Cheesecake Factory with a Make America Great Again hat, he shouldn't be verbally accosted. You should maybe inquire as to why he's wearing it if you want to hear his point of view, but he should by no means feel that he's not welcome in a restaurant.
Okay.
This is the problem that we have as Americans, and we can all do better.
Mark, I know you want to respond to that. What do you want to say?
Nah, I was wondering what a dude was in the Cheesecake Factory, but I think for me, you know, most, you know, that has y'all tripping, man.
Yeah. No,
focus. The point is that most black people who are dealing with the ritual humiliation of not being allowed in a restaurant, most black folk who aren't allowed in a restaurant is not because they're wearing a Make America Great Again hat on, it's because they're black.
Yep.
And so, again, there needs to be space for civility and open discourse, but we also have to be honest about the reasons that undergird the kind of oppression that we see. And ultimately, it's white supremacy, it's anti-black racism, it's structural inequality, it's homophobia, it's anti-Semitism, it's all those things.
Make sure that you subscribe, that you share, that you comment, you hit the little bell so that you will be informed when we upload our videos. Stay tuned for episode 3, where we will be talking about how it is that we need to respond as independents and Democrats to the media and the right-wing media's attack on Joe Biden and how it seems that they want him to bow out of the race. See you next time.